In IELTS Speaking, IELTS Writing Task 1 and in IELTS Writing Task 2, you're given a score for your grammar. Now, one thing that the examiner is looking for is the accuracy of the grammar in your sentences, but also they're looking for complex structures. And today I'm going to explain to you just what this means. My name is Lara Ryan. I've been an IELTS examiner for IELTS Writing and Speaking. I've been an IELTS teacher at the British Council. I've been teaching IELTS since 2010, and I'm the founder of Complete Test Success. As always, you can help me to continue making videos like these by clicking like on the video and subscribing to my channel. To get started, let's look at what a complex sentence is. I'm going to show you two simple sentences, so these are not complex sentences. I'm studying for the IELTS test. I'm working full-time in a hospital. So these are known as simple sentences, and they are completely independent to one another. However, we can join them together. So to join them together, I simply put "and" in the middle. I'm studying for the IELTS test and I'm working full-time in a hospital. However, this is still not considered to be a complex sentence. What we're looking at here is known as a compound sentence because there are two independent clauses joined together with a conjunction. So to make this into a complex sentence, what I can do is take the word "I'm" here and remove it. So we end up with this. I'm studying for the IELTS test and working full-time in a hospital. So to make a sentence complex, what we need is a dependent clause. And that means that one clause requires information from the first one so that someone can understand it. So by that I mean the word "I'm" in the first clause needs to be borrowed by the second clause for someone to understand it. And that's what makes a sentence complex. There's a dependent clause which requires some information from the other one. So that's one way we can make a complex sentence, but we can also use subordinating conjunctions. So here's an example. I'm studying for the IELTS test because I want to move abroad. And just by using this word "because," that makes it a complex sentence. So anytime we use a subordinating conjunction, we have written a complex sentence. Here are some other typical subordinating conjunctions. Although, because, before, even though, if, so, when, where, whereas, and while. So if you're already able to use those, you're already able to write complex sentences. Now, you might not know how to use a massive range of subordinating conjunctions, and if that's the case, you can just go ahead and research some more. The other option we have is using relative pronouns. Here's another example for you. I'm studying for the IELTS test, which is quite a complicated exam. So here, the word "which" is our relative pronoun. And again, by using a word like this, we are writing a complex sentence. Other examples of relative pronouns are that, where, which, and who. So once more, if you're not able to use these, you should learn how. And if you don't know a wide range of relative pronouns, then again, you should do some research on this. Just in case you're not already aware, I have free live feedback lessons on Zoom every week. So those are my free group classes where I help any of you who want to join me. You can find the link to subscribe for that in the video description. So as I've already mentioned, there's more than one type of complex structure, and we've looked at complex sentences. Next, we're going to look at passive structures. Now, it isn't absolutely essential that you would use this unless you're using it in the correct context. So in map questions and process questions for IELTS Writing Task 1, it's pretty much essential that you would use it. But in other parts of the IELTS test, like IELTS Speaking and IELTS Writing Task 2, and even General Training Task 1, it's not always essential that you use it. So first, let me show you an active structure. Someone built a house in the northeastern part of the map. Now, this is an active structure where my main focus is on someone, so the person who built it. However, if I'm talking about a map, it's far more likely that my focus is about the thing on the map, which would be, of course, the house. So rather than writing an active sentence, it makes more sense for me to focus on the house. So I can use a passive structure like this. A house was built by someone in the northeastern part of the map. However, because it's not really important that someone built it, it's only important that it was built, I don't need to include by someone. So I can just remove that and write the sentence like this. A house was built in the northeastern part of the map. So like I said, you don't have to use a passive structure to get a high score. The important thing is that you're using a range of structures. So the examiner doesn't have a list of structures. The examiner isn't ticking off each type of structure as you use it. What they're looking for is a range and that you're using it appropriately. So don't try to force particular structures into an answer. I've heard a lot of students say that they think they must use a conditional sentence in their essay. That's not true. If a conditional sentence is appropriate, then of course you should, but you shouldn't go into the test with specific structures in mind that you want to use. Another type of complex structure the examiner is looking for is the use of modal verbs. So first of all, let me just give you an example sentence. You shouldn't do the IELTS test yet. And the word shouldn't is what's considered as a modal verb. Now the typical modal verbs that you will use are should, can, could, will, would, must and might. And the other type of structure that the examiner is looking for is your use of grammatical tenses. So with tenses, the correct tense depends on when in time the actual event happened. So we might say, I did the IELTS test last week, or we might say, I've done the IELTS test 5 times. So when would we use did versus when would we use have done? And that's what we are also looking for in the IELTS test as part of your grammar score. Of course, there are a wide range of different grammatical tenses, and you should be very comfortable using all of them, and you should understand when each one is appropriate before you get to your IELTS test. So now that you understand what complex structures are, you probably realize it's not as complicated as it sounds. However, what you should do is focus on your main weakness. If there are any areas of grammar I've just discussed and you feel like you are very poor in that area, that's what you should focus on to help improve your grammar score. So let me know in the comments, what structures are you going to focus on?